Hey guys, Vincent Giallo here. Welcome back. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about one of my favorite slashers. I'm a huge slasher fan, obviously. I know a lot of you guys out there are as well. This movie came out in 1981, at the height of the slasher cycle, if you will. Avoids a lot of the cliches that a lot of these films do. It's kind of unique in that respect, even though it was like right at the beginning of that whole slasher kind of thing. I don't know if you guys can guess what it is. Anyone? Anyone? 1981's My Bloody Valentine. Guys, now this is a film shot in Canada, up in an old abandoned mine in Nova Scotia. And the setting is fantastic. The way they've gone about sort of setting this whole thing up. And it turns out this mine had just been shut down. So when they came in to shoot, everything was there, all the equipment and everything. So they used a lot of that stuff in this film. Like I said, it had just been closed, so they had access to all this stuff. What I like about this movie is it's got a real blue collar feel to it. The victims, if you will, are not teenagers. They're not teens. They're adults, right? And they come from this hard drinking, hard living kind of small town. Which seems very authentic. I've come to understand, watching some of the extras that on this disc, that they came there a week or two before, and they kind of mingled with the townspeople, and they really got an essence of what went on there, and they really infused that into the film, and it's huge. It goes a long way, and like I said, you really feel, a sense of camaraderie between these characters. You kind of actually care for them a little more than you maybe do in your throwaway slashers. So that was always kind of interesting to me. Also the setting deep down in this, real, legitimate mine, right? These guys are going down underground, shooting these scenes, and it's already claustrophobic, right? Because you're already in this mine. It's dark, it's dank, there's no escape. So really cool setting for this film. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about was, if you can, when you get now this movie's 90 minutes long. But the unrated version is 93 minutes. There's a huge, night and day difference, guys, between the 90 and 93 minute. And obviously, yes, it's 3 minutes difference, but those 3 minutes are not made up in lame dialogue and people chatting and guys walking down the street, all this kind of stuff. This is like hardcore make or break it for this film. This film easily could blend in with any other slasher of the time. And, still legitimately good. But in the 90-minute version, all of the kills pretty much, are cutaways. So you'll see the guy come with a pickaxe, Harry Warden, and then you'll see kind of the after effects, which we saw in a lot of these films, back then. But in the 93-minute version, guys, it's crazy. It easily elevates this thing to another level, which puts this thing at one of the top for me, and very influential. And again, it was right back at the beginning of that slasher phase. A year later, a year after Friday the 13th and some of these. But I'll tell you, you got to track it down. Some of these scenes you see, like one, for example, is in the laundromat scene. You guys have seen this, know what I'm talking about. This lady gets, pickaxed to death and chucked in a dryer in a laundromat. And, the cop comes in and he's covering his face. And you obviously just imagine somebody being thrown in a dryer and burned and turning around in this thing. Well, the guy opens the door, and it kind of cuts away from that scene. Well, in the unrated version, it's like a whole extra scene. He opens the door. It's one of the greatest horror scenes of all time, truly. Opens the door, lady's, top part of her torso falls out of the dryer, completely burned and melted. And the dryer's continuing to spin. So you kind of see her torso kind of flailing and ragdolling, flying around outside this dryer. It's spectacular. It is really, really, really cool. You got to see that version if you're going to see this film, and I'd highly recommend it. And the shower room scene, where she's in there, and all their uniforms are dropping down kind of randomly. It's dark, and she's kind of walking through, which was also played out in the remake version as well. But that scene goes to an extent where you see this woman getting butchered and then placed up on a shower head, and it kind of cuts away and you see the back. But in this one, you see him actually implanting this lady up onto the shower head, and then turning the shower on, and you've got her, you know, mouth open, and it's just, oh man, it's seriously incredible. And the ending of this thing too, there's a little bit more kind of fleshed out at the very end, which just makes it a crazy ending. Like, you know, what happens with the killer, and you kind of think it's ended, and then you see this sort of extra scene. I'm telling you guys, this is the version to see. 93 minutes. It's one of the few films where, you know, you're getting, I don't even know why they cut those. I mean, they cut these to put it in the theaters, but, you know, to have not really released it in a long time without these scenes, there's tons of people out there going around seeing this movie and just thinking, it's, you know, it's average or whatever. And, you know, it might be without these scenes, but these scenes really elevate it to me. I would just try to see that 93-minute version, guys. It's a great film. And if you pick up this Blu-ray here, this special edition, this one's by Maple Pictures, Lionsgate. I don't know if this is even available anymore. It's pretty hard to find this, I think. But there's some great features on here. Bloodlust, My Bloody Valentine, and the Rise of the Slasher Film. It's a 20-minute documentary on the film and the rise of the slasher film at the early 80s. So it's a nice little feature. Kind of goes through a lot of those early slashers. Really, really cool. And the other thing is there's also an interactive horror film history, you know, kind of breaks down. You can choose different genres and kind of click on them and read, you know, and it goes into like the Giallo film, which I was very, very surprised to see on here as one of the, you know, precursors to the slasher, which we know is, but, you know, it was nice to see them giving the Giallo film its recognition on here as well. And all the way up to like torture porn and today's like new wave slasher films, you know, like Inside and High Tension and stuff. So it's kind of a cool thing. Definitely worth watching. There's a lot of little insights on this film, you know, the directors talk about, and, you know, some of this stuff, and really, really cool. So I would definitely check that out, guys. And, you know, if you haven't seen the remake in 2009, so I mean that's almost 10 years old now. This was one of the great remakes in my mind. You know, it was, you know, had the same kind of story as this. It was a remake, but it was a little bit, you know, they changed the story a little bit. You know, instead of 20 years later, this guy coming back, you know, it was 10 years later, and just some other kind of stuff. But one of the great first sort of 3D films that came out in 2009. Really, really like this one. Like this movie a lot. Like I said, it's really, really well done. Stands up to like a lot of the older stuff, and it's not just such like trying to cash in on something. First of all, there was nothing to really cash in on except for the title, because a lot of people don't even know about this. But it was just a really, really well done movie. So if you haven't seen the remake, I would check it out as well, guys. Definitely worth checking it out. And then lastly here, I've got the VHS. Now this is the one from the video store back in the day. I mean, this and the Prowler, man. I would see this thing on the shelf and I would just be salivating, going, man, this thing, like, look at the back of this thing. Harry Warden on the back. And just, a brief thing, I mean, I never really mentioned what it was about, but basically the premise is, just to go back a bit for a second, is, you know, it's 20 years ago. This guy was, there was 5 miners down on the bottom of a mine. And so 5 miners down the bottom of the mine. And there's methane levels build up and stuff, and there's 2 guys, 2 foremen or whatever, up at the top of the mine that were supposed to be monitoring this. And it was, you know, Valentine's Day, so they went to the dance in town or whatever, and left these 5 guys down there. Well, the mine ended up exploding and killing 4 of the guys, and there was 1 guy left. Of course, it was Harry Warden. So, you know, they finally rescued him, and he'd been surviving, like eating for 6 weeks, eating these other people down there and just trying to stay alive. And then, you know, a year later he gets out, comes back, kills a bunch of people, and then from there, you know, he says, you know, I'll be killing more people if you guys don't cut out Halloween or cut out Valentine's Day for the next, you know, however many years. Anyways, 20 years later, they decide to start celebrating Valentine's Day again, and then Harry Warden comes back, right? So that's kind of the whole premise of the thing. But yeah, good movie, guys. Definitely get the 93-minute version. Highly recommended. If you haven't seen the remake, check it out. There's the VHS spine there for you guys. And hope you guys leave some comments below, guys. Let me know if you've seen this film, the remake, or which one you guys like better. If you've seen the 93-minute version, what you guys think of that extra gore, because I mean, it is incredible. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. And please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification so you get updates when my new videos come out. And we talk about more slashers and things like that. So talk to you guys on the next one. Thanks. Take care.